Then we look at ourselves, about self-awareness. And now build on self-awareness, now that we are aware of what we feel, how we think, how we experience, we are talking about self-management.
Sorry. That is the appropriate response.
Can you recognize you sometimes?
Or a friend.
A friend.
Alex just like me.
Yeah, so I do look like that sometimes. I must admit. I'm not sure it's good for the wrinkles, but that's the way, right? Never mind. So what is self-management? We can summarize self-management built on 4 words: to move from compulsion to choice. And it resonates with what we have seen this morning, the same quote from Viktor Frankl, where between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and freedom. Which means, based on what we have learned this morning, that now that we are more aware, we have the clarity and more clarity on how we will choose at that particular moment, how we will respond to a situation, especially when we are triggered. This is what we call self-management. Self-management is a process of managing one's internal states, impulses, and resources. When we are referring to self-management, and we are referring to our emotion, it is not at all to avoid them, nor to deny them, or to suppress them. Think, for example, of doctors or the medical function when they have to share difficult information. They need to have this emotion coming on. They can't be just completely cold, right? So emotions are important. What we have to, and it's very important to understand that we are not trying to kill all our emotion. We are trying to learn how to read our emotion and how to manage our internal states. Yeah, do you understand the difference? Yeah. When we are talking about self-management, it's having the tools to navigate through the process of life, through the difficult situation of life, with the right skills that will avoid us to completely go into the rock and crash. But in the same time, to have this finesse and sophistication that will help us to maneuver. We can't control everything. We can't control the nasty email we receive. We can't control the difficult parents that we will be meeting when you have meeting with the parents. You can't control maybe a difficult kids in a certain situation. What we can control, it's ourselves. How do we control and manage our emotion? And how do we do this kayaking exercise by navigating through whatever happened to us in life? So how do we respond to triggers? What is a trigger? Remember, the bear behind the bush, ready to jump on you. An email from your boss or the colleagues that don't want to cooperate or doesn't find your idea so brilliant. A difficult parent who strongly disagree to what you are doing with the kids. This is triggers. It triggers us because it creates a physiological reaction that has an impact on how we react. I think I need to click towards the computer. And again, I have a little break. I think this is a big test all the time. So, this is a concept that Daniel Goleman explained. It's the amygdala hijack. So we saw this morning, this is still the picture of our brain. The amygdala, which is the emotional center, and then the prefrontal cortex. What's happening, especially in a stressful situation, the amygdala, which is at the level of our emotion, got hijacked. And when it got hijacked, it means rather than to go and ask for some help from the prefrontal cortex, this is where we are overacting because there's no more bandwidth and communication between our rational thinking, the prefrontal cortex, and the amygdala. This is what we call to be hijacked, the amygdala being hijacked. We're hijacked when we're in a stressful situation. So when we look back in time, in the ancient time, it was all about our survival mode. I hear a noise in the bush, late at night, I run. This is me being triggered. I'm into a survival mode. I want to survive. I can tell you my amygdala is going to take control of it and makes me run fast, right? Here, hopefully, you are not attacked every day by a bear when you are coming to school. However, you still have this survival instinct of being triggered and sometimes losing the control of your reaction and overreacting, right? This is how we are describing the amygdala hijack. Is it clear by everyone? Yeah? So I will show you a little video.
In the context of a threat, real or imagined, this can rapidly shift our affective state, fear, anxiety, arousal. And this is really embedded in the emotional reactivity in the limbic system, amygdala, anterior cingulate. This sends a bottom-up signal to recruit help from other parts of the brain, other brain systems. When that's working correctly, then in blue, you see here that there are regulatory systems that then begin to process what is that threat, what are some strategies, how can I work with it? And when it's working well, it sends a top-down signal to modulate the intensity, the duration, the interpretation of that ongoing emotion experience. But I would also add that especially in human beings, this is mediated through our view of self, be it positive or negative, or otherwise, and our ability to use language and thinking to modulate and understand our experiences. So this is the beginning of a complex system that people are beginning to examine using all kinds of neuroscientific tools.
So what's happening here? Let's go back. Is someone feeling completely lost? You're still okay? Yeah? Okay. There's a threat. Again, back to the bear in the bush. Okay. We are triggered. We hear the noise in the bush. Here, the amygdala sends a bottom-up signal, feel anxiety, and ask the prefrontal cortex to evaluate how do we respond. Okay. When we are hijacked, this regulation between the emotion and our rational system doesn't happen. It's kind of the communication is less or non-existing. This is how this threat and the emotion get control of it. By practicing mindfulness, what it does, it increases the bandwidth between the emotion, the amygdala, and the evaluation of the emotion, requesting, so sending a bottom-up signal to the prefrontal cortex. Then the prefrontal cortex got the full information, can analyze, okay, is it really a bear? Do I really need to run? Or is just a kid playing in the bush? It's not the same. Can have a real situation and then send an information down that help us to respond and not to react. Yeah? Okay. So how do we do that? How can we help this communication effect between the amygdala and to avoid the amygdala to be hijacked and the prefrontal cortex? A beautiful technique